it's like the guys who wear like the swarm of bees on their face or whatever.
Oh, the bee beard.
That and I go down on my wife and I come up with no bees on my face. Welcome to the internet's #1 fake history podcast, The Lore Boys. I'm your host, Ethan Palmer, and walking blindly into the sunset are James and Peter. Say hi, fellas.
Hi.
I've got Eclipse glasses on. That's why I cannot see.
True. So he's staying safe while walking blindly into the sunset.
Yes. Unlike I did on the actual Eclipse, where I neglected to get the glasses and just watched it backwards from my phone. So
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not more dangerous than looking at the sun normally. I think Jamie and I have talked about this before. Like, I think we both spent time as kids seeing how long we could stare at the sun.
Yeah, you start to see the little hoop go around there. Kind of turns blue as your retinas fail. I've done it.
Yeah, and I got good eyes. I got good peepers. You know, what way worse than looking at the sun is looking at my computer screen all day. Fucking guarantee.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, actually, I was also complaining this past weekend that I couldn't see stars as good as other people. So maybe it actually did have an effect on me. Maybe I should have worn some glasses.
You're also in the city, so it's not great. But yeah. That's also maybe your computer screen all day. Who knows?
Yep.
We all see things different, huh? Today we're going to be dipping our toes back into J.R.R. Tolkien's fiction. Token. But we won't be focusing on Middle Earth. Today we'll be talking about the continent of Numenor, once populated by man, the greatest monster of them all. We've talked about Lord of the Rings a few times on this podcast. We talked about Eru-Ilúvatar singing the world into existence. We talked about Balrogs. We talked about Silmarils.
Dragons.
What else did we talk about?
Something about Ungoliant doing a 9/11 to the two trees.
It will come up today.
We're never going to forget, dude. This Patriot podcast.
Never forget. Yeah. Why don't you guys give the elevator pitch for a person who doesn't know what Lord of the Rings is, has never seen the movies, what they need to know going into a Lord of the Rings episode of the Lore Boys.
Yeah. Welcome from North Korea, sir. How did you get here? Let me explain to you the basis of Western fantasy.
Or they. Huh?
Fair enough. You're right. Oh man. Could you imagine needing to escape North Korea as like a non-binary person to get like through that country and then all the other countries on the way to Canada? Like, Jesus Christ.
And then you get here and there's still some shitty people, it turns out.
Yeah, exactly.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
sucks.
but you can buy food at the store, so it might be worth it. Don't know. Mm-hmm. I haven't faced a lot of trials and tribulations in my life. Yeah, so the Earth was sung into existence by Eru-Ilúvatar, who is capital G God. He created multiple levels of angel. They started to sing with him. There was one that was a bad singer. He did a discordant, which I think is Melkor.
Mm-hmm. Melkor or
Morgoth. Discordant notes, modified some of their creations, turns eagles into dragons, turns elves into orcs. No bueno. He just corrupts shit with his untuned acoustic guitar. After that, Balrog's like a demon. Wizards are like
we don't need to go too much further than that. The only thing would be like, hey, there's rings of power. We're not going to talk too much about them. Created by Sauron, who's the big bad guy in the movies and the books.
Alongside Celebrimbor. Yeah. Celebrimbor was like making them, and then Sauron showed up saying that he was like a god of gifts and a god that he was going to help them out. And he shows up with like a halo above his head, but really he's got the devil horns underneath his hair. He's not showing them. Yeah.
And we'll talk about Sauron's whole shtick with turning into an elf. Because we're going to be talking about Sauron a little bit. We won't be talking about the rings too much, but yes, Sauron did deceive some master smiths among the elves, and we'll talk about that.
Does he kick it in Numenor at any point, or is he in the elven city where they're smithing?
He does. We'll talk about it. Why don't we talk about Numenor then? Huh?
Yeah, let's get into it.
One other important detail is flat Earth. Okay, Earth is flat. Yes. At least when we're talking about today. Okay, so every
time I'm talking about the Earth, no matter what, frankly.
Yeah, he said Numenor was owned by men, but as far as I know, it wasn't always that way, right? It was.
We'll talk about it.
You want?
Let's talk about
Okay.
Numenor, huh?
Okay.
Let's just
Okay,
talk about
let's get
Numenor.
it.
There was one ding dang half elf who we'll also talk about who decided to become a man. I got all this in the script. I'm going to tell you guys about it. Don't worry.
Imagine being a half elf who became a man, and you had to go from North Korea all
Yeah, I was
the
gonna
way
say.
to Canada.
Imagine being a he/they elf trying to escape North Korea. Holy fuck!
So we're going to begin where I think our Silmarils episode ended off, with the forces of good taking on the forces of evil in the War of Wrath. So from that episode, you might remember Irindil on his ship with his Silmaril on the prow. Silmaril is like a crystal that's like a star. It glows like a star and has immense power to it. He kills the greatest dragon to have ever lived, and
Yes,
Celegoth. At this point, we've got humans.
Who knocks down mountains when he falls out of the sky, by the way.
We're going to talk about the repercussions of that as well.
Okay.
So at this point, we've got humans who are known as the Edain. So there's humans all over the world. We're talking specifically about a group of humans known as the Edain, who are fighting alongside elves, Maiar, and even Valar against Morgoth. In the War of Wrath, the Valar, who are the angels, like the highest angels below God himself, like step into the real world to help take on Morgoth, because Morgoth is so powerful and his forces are so powerful.
Yeah, things have gotten out of control. What with his army of Balrogs and dragons.
Exactly. For a long time, it was just Balrogs, and then Jamie's done a few episodes on it, but then he unleashes the dragons at some point where things get really dire. Humans for a long time have had a bad rap. They awoke far to the east, and when they began to make their way west, they had been intercepted by Morgoth's spies, who turned many men to evil, right? It is one of the core themes in Lord of the Rings is that men are fallible, right? Like they easily succumb to greed and desire and like wanting, basically.
Just subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, do it. Subscribe. Yeah, join the evil. The Edain, the group of humans that are specifically fighting against Morgoth here, were special in that way. They were the first peoples to reach Beleriand, east of the Blue Mountains, and they were alone among men in defending the elves in their war against Morgoth. So they're the only humans, like of all the humans in the world, these are the only ones who are willing to take a stand against Morgoth. All the others were like, it's fine, like it doesn't matter who you vote for, kind of types. Was the rest?
I think it's cool that the Balrogs get pussy, and their immigration policy and burning people alive is nothing that I am concerned with whatsoever.
Exactly. Yeah. All that stuff about like skewering us alive and like roasting our bones and everything. That's just locker room talk, man. So I posted you guys
turn them into orcs. It's great.
I posted you guys a picture of Middle Earth from long, long ago. When the Beleriand still stood. So this is during the First Age, because the Beleriand is going to sink at the end of the First Age. The most famous Edain is someone we've spoken at length about, although he's kind of he's a half elf, but he eventually like joins the Edain in spirit, I guess, who is Irindil, who I mentioned before. He rode a flying ship with a Silmaril or magic rock, take a drink on the prow, and who slew the greatest dragon to ever live. And Salagon the Black. When Salagon fell from the sky, he landed, like Jamie said, upon a chain of 3 mountains known as Thangorodrim. The fall destroyed most of Beleriand, sinking all but the easternmost reaches and a single tomb under the sea. So now I post you guys another map where you can see the stretch of land that was sunk under the water when Enceladgoth the Black fell, basically.
I hope this doesn't have long-lasting repercussions between the race relations of men and elves. This is very bad.
It's like a fifth of the map. Like it's a very big chunk, or like a sixth. Like it's huge.
A huge chunk.
Basically, like sinking California finally into the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's kind of a lot of Tolkien's writing is inspired by European history, so you can think of a lot of it as like England sank Ireland, basically. Like Ireland sank while the rest of the United Kingdom survived.
Oh, that's why we don't really hear about Angband in like the Fellowship and all that stuff, because Angband had already sunk by that. Okay. I remember hearing about it in like the First Age a lot whenever I was doing my research, but never later. And now I know why, because a dragon fell on a mountain and sunk it. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't, there is like one island there, which you'll see on like the map that shows like what's sunk. I didn't write it down, but that's someone important's tomb. So it was basically, they were spared. Like they had been interred there, and Iluvatar intervened to like save that tomb specifically out of respect for them. I didn't write down who it was. So pretty much like half a continent had been sunk into the sea. the one where the only good men left in Middle Earth called their home, right? So we've established that this is where the Edain live. The Edain are the only good guys out of humans, basically, and home is gone, right? I fought in a war against evil with the elves, and all I got was water damage and homelessness. Put that on a t-shirt, basically. Arendil, half elf, was given the gift of guard duty, where he got a job working security at the Door of Night, where they had tossed Morgoth's head after this whole War of Wrath business. So they defeat the god of evil. They cut off his head. He had fashioned himself a crown, which Jamie talks about in our Silmaril episode, which had the 3 Silmarils in it.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
They take that, they refashion it into a collar, and then cut off his head with like the collar still on. Like they cut off his head below the collar, basically, to bind him. And then they throw his head through this thing called the Door of Night. The Door of Night is just beyond the Undying Lands, which is at the end of the world. It's set right where Arda meets the Timeless Void. So it's like the edge of existence. They got a door that goes out to the Void, and they threw his head in there. Irendil is given the gift of, you get to live in Arda, which is the Undying Lands, and guard the door, basically.
Did they give him like a shiny elven like TSA wand? Anytime somebody goes through the door, it's like, ooh, it's like, I'm sorry, sir, you have to take off your crown.
He got a black stool, which he can't sit on, but he can lean up against.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. You better not be sitting on company time.
But there were more people who needed jobs after just Arendil, of course. So there were 3 houses of Edain, which had originally come to Beleriand: the House of Beor, the House of Haleth, and the House of Marach. The House of Haleth was erased from history during the war. If they all died out or just merged with other humans is pretty unknown, but like their line does not continue after the War of Wrath. The War of Wrath is the end of the First Age, so the Second Age begins after the War of Wrath and after the sinking of Beleriand. The House of Beor was nearly wiped out in the War of Wrath, and in the wake of it all would merge with the House of Marach. So from 3 houses, we essentially have 1 left, the House of Marach. The Valar, the angels, saw the surviving men and took pity on them, gifting them an island far to the west called Numenor, which they had raised from the seabed. The Valar raised it from the seabed specifically as a gift to man. So when you said, Jamie, did people live there before? The Numenorians were the first ones to inherit it, basically.
Could they not remember it was a continent too?
Sorry?
I mean, they didn't. They're just like, oh, sorry about that. The dragon that broke California off the continent and sank it into the Pacific. Here's Hawaii, and it's just like, we've invented Hawaii for you. And then it's just like, okay, what about just bring California back?
Yeah.
What am I, God? Just an angel, buddy.
I mean, Morgoth's fortress is there. Angband was Morgoth's fortress. Maybe they don't want to bring Morgoth's fortress out of the water too.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
that's enough. Maybe it's like all the devastation. Maybe it's like corrupted by Morgoth himself. Like maybe just his presence corrupted it enough that Ainul, like, if Morgoth was the discordant sound in the universe, maybe that's stained. That chord will always be discordant now, and even if you raised it, it would still be like somewhat inherently evil.
I was just being CinemaSins levels of pedantic. It doesn't actually matter. Tolkien is perfect.
It's a good question, I think. I think
exactly.
The Valar, so the Valar give them Numenor, which they raised from the sea. Numenor, of course, would need a king, right? We're not going to have fucking democracy. Jesus. But Irendil, right? The obvious choice was spoken for, guarding the god of evil's head, right? At the edge of time. So they went to his twin sons first, right? Elrond declined. Elrond, I learned, half-elf. It's not a full elf. It's a half-elf.
I'm learning he's fucking 40,000 years old as well. Holy shit.
He's at least as old as the Second Age. Yeah.
Holy fuck. All right.
Elrond declined, but his brother Elros agreed to step into the role.
Okay.
So the half-elf Elros.
I feel like Elrond stays out of everything. Like whenever...
That's his thing.
Whenever gods ask him to do something, I don't want to do that. Or whenever... what's her name? Galadriel later like gets a ring, and she's like, "We have to do this to stop evil." He's like, "By me participating, I am like helping evil. I will not make a decision on anything. I am just staying out of it, you know." But he does step up in in the right moments, but yeah, he tends to stay out of things.
I think it took him 30,000 years to finally step up. He was just like, "I'm staying out of it. You there, buddy? Stay out of my daughter." Like pistol fingers snaps at Aragorn.
So. I mean, we've talked about it before, but like Tolkien, like there's Tolkien scholars, right? There's people that there's college courses dedicated just to studying like these works, basically. I love that you brought that up, Jamie, because I think it's a very poignant point when we talk about his brother Elros. Okay. So Elros decides to become the king of Numenor. To do that, he accepts the gift of man. That's a capital G, capital M, sometimes also called the gift of Iluvatar. This is also known as mortality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Elros agrees to be mortal in exchange for this. So what the gift of man is said to do is it's said to allow men to pass beyond Arda, so beyond the material world. The material world right now has heaven. Heaven is part of the material world. You just got to sail there, right? Like you just get on a boat and eventually you'll get there if you keep going west. The gift of man was like you get to not go to heaven, you get oblivion, or who knows what truly is beyond, right? But to exist outside the music of Iluvatar is the gift of Iluvatar, right? But also being able to exist outside the music of Iluvatar is to not be bound by fate, as elves like canonically are in Tolkien, right? So like Elrond saying he's not going to participate is fated. Like he'll only ever do what the music of Iluvatar has already sung that he would do.
Okay.
And his brother Elros like shirks that, right? Which I mean, obviously the symbolism of twins being like, you know, the yin and the yang, and like the one saying like, I'm only ever going to do what fate deems I need to do, so I'm going to let it happen to me. And then his brother being like, no, I'm going to take direct control and you know, become a king of man.
And like even the discordant notes that Morgoth sang into at the beginning of time, like Iluvatar himself says, no, like you're part of the beauty of everything now. Like your discordant notes, like just play against my notes, and you're meant to be there. So like even the evil is not acting against God's will; it's acting within the realm of this was always going to happen. The ebb and flow of good and evil and everything. Yeah,
exactly. But men, I mean, and it's the truth in the Lord of the Rings books as well, right? Like men and hobbits to some extent. People that are not elves or Maya or Valar are able to impact it in ways that like nobody can really predict, right?
Right.
They're able to change history or change destiny is, I think, an important theme in Tolkien. So yeah, it's not a misnomer. Immortal life is truly a gift in Tolkien's writing, but the gift obviously becomes pretty darkened by Morgoth's legacy, right? We'll talk about that a little bit later, but there's evil in the world, and people are going to exploit that, the fact that humans don't like dying. Not me. I'm pretty chill about it, you know, but
Yeah.
Huh.
Morgoth
all
would
die
probably like
someday.
launder his reputation on like a podcast, right?
yeah, absolutely.
He'd just be like, woke half elves kept my head in the door of night for centuries. It's just yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. Like Bergman Joe Rogan would say like, what, they did what? Wow, man, that's so wild that they did that. Like,
or Zuckerberg.
What did
went
you
on.
do? Invented a big spider? Damn, dude. You know, that's what, you know, it's just like, you know, it's like I tried to listen to one of his episodes recently and he's still talking about erosion on the Sphinx. And I'm like, so stupid. It's like, you know, like in university, they try to hide the fact that you created a giant spider that killed 2 trees. Right?
Yeah. we spent so much time asking ourselves what would happen if we gave 10,000 monkeys a typewriter. We didn't ask ourselves what would happen if we gave one monkey a microphone.
Yeah.
You know? It turns out the final erasure of Western democracy.
Yeah, completely.
Mr. Rogan, I think 2/3 of us would appear on your show if you'd have us. So I'll let the other guys do it for the bump, but you know. I
would love to go on there and just be like, no one has ever corrected you on anything because you can't think. It would be so funny. Just like go there and be mean to him is like my fantasy.
But first, you guys talk about him a lot. He has his hooks, because I think we brought him up on the bonus. We brought him up today. We brought him up.
I mean, I've listened to 700 episodes of his show, right? Like I started listening with Bernie Sanders. It was bracketed by presidents. Bernie Sanders is when I started, and then I stopped with his Trump interview because it's one of the worst episodes of anything I've ever listened to in my life. And then every once in a while, I will click on something, and it's just like. The most recent one was like, this guy is a archaeologist and historian. I'm like, okay, can this guy read? Or does this guy have a PhD? Is this guy illiterate or does he have a PhD? Illiterate. obviously that's why he's on Rogan. Like
if Morgoth went
this
on,
never changes.
Morgoth went on, I would picture him like the Zuckerberg interview where he had the Gen Z haircut and the big chain and the big baggy shirt.
Could
and he
you
talks
imagine
about
Morgoth?
bow hunting. Where he talks about bow hunting, but he doesn't know the brand of his bow. And he's like talking to an elf, and he's like, oh yeah, I go out hunting for elk all the time. And he's like, oh yeah, like
what kind of wood you use for that bow? Yeah, you use yew wood or?
I mean, we got it from a forest, and
like a forest with like trees with like different kinds of wood. What's your favorite kind of tree?
I once killed some walking trees, and I like those types of trees. Yeah,
gotta hit Morgoth with the Dominican ray, make him look like the like Zuckerberg.
Yep.
Christ, where were we, huh? So yeah, Elros accepted the gift of mortality and took over as king of the humans, who would go on to call themselves Numenorians, right? Of Numenor. Elros got his dad with the Silmaril on the prow to guide the ship, prow of a ship, to guide them west to their new Holy Land, their new Mecca, the new hot spot to be. Despite choosing the red pill, Elros was granted a slightly longer than your average bear lifespan. He lived for 500 years.
Okay.
So he accepted the gift of man, the gift of mortality, but he does get an extended
The Numenorian
lifespan.
picnic baskets have a little sprinkling of magic in there.
Yeah. His rule of Numenor would last 410 years. So he lived for 500. He was 90 when he became king, and he ruled for 410 until his death.
Pretty good. I do want to comment very quickly. This is just like a dumb tangent trivia thing. What is the big cube in Mecca called?
Mecca. I don't know, dude.
It's cool, regardless.
Yeah, I like your cube, Mecca. It's cool.
It's called the Kaaba. Never mind.
There you go. That's Mecca backwards. So not just Elros, but all Numenorians were given gifts by the Valar. All Numenorians were granted lifespans in the centuries. They were stronger, taller, and more intelligent than other men.
Right? Like, are we going to talk about, because Aragorn is like descended from this bloodline, and he's like older than King Theoden, but visibly younger. Yeah,
so Aragorn, I think, lived for about 150 years before when he died. Aragorn II, I should say. Yes, he is descended. He is the last Numenorian king. Is Aragorn, basically.
Cool.
The caveat to all these gifts, getting like fancy new home, to getting, being taller and stronger and getting to live longer, was that the only rule was that they are not allowed to sail west. Not being allowed to go so far west that they lose sight of the island was the rule. So they can go as far east as they want, but they're not allowed to go west. Primarily, this was to keep them out of Aman, which is the land of heaven, the Undying Lands, where only the gods and elves and angels are allowed, right?
No Amans in Aman.
Exactly. No Omans in Oman. So, of course, with being forced to die and being told they're never going to be allowed to go to heaven, over centuries, rumors begin to circle that men died because of their sins during Morgoth's reign, that they turned from Iluvatar meant that they could not live forever as the elves did, right? You get, like, as history wears on, you do get people forgetting, like, that the Valar granted them this land, that they fought against Morgoth, and, like, history skews a little bit, so that some people start thinking, like, well, why don't we get to live forever? Why don't we get to go to the Holy Land, right? Maybe it's punishment from the Valar that humans anywhere ever did worship Morgoth, right?
It is pretty funny how, like, in a land of gods and monsters, in a fantasy setting such as this, human beings are still so desperate for answers, they're still inventing faith.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point, and I don't want to keep glazing. Yeah. I don't want to glaze Tolkien too much because we do every time we do this, right? But like, it is absolutely like the flaw of man in the real world that mortality sucks. We're all terrified of dying all the time, and it guides almost our every action. So like, men in this is like, it takes it to that extreme, right? Like, what if, like, how much would if, like, I think Jamie's brought this up on the episode before, but it was probably like a Reddit post at some point where, like, I had a fear for a while that, like, hey, advances in medical science keep getting better. Eventually, they're going to cure dying. They're going to cure aging. and like the fear is that you're just too old to get the treatment, right? Like you've missed the window, and you get to see like everyone else in the world be like, hey, cool, we don't have to worry about this anymore, and you just get to like waste away while that happens. You know, like
I just saw an ad for like you can slow down the aging of your dog, and I like just lost my dog last week. I'm like, did Ice just miss the fucking window, dude? Like, if she made an extra year, would there be a bill? You know? And I know it's all propaganda, but anyways,
yeah, that is straight up capitalism working at its best, where they know that your dog died because you paid the vet, and they're like, well, here you go, buddy. Yeah, here's your ads, basically. Served
the
up
mic on your phone has been paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Easier than that, I think. Just Visa just sells your data and says, "Yep, you paid for all this shit at the vet." So there you go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, all that, the men are starting to believe this instead of the truth, which is obviously that dying and then experiencing oblivion is actually a super sick gift. So thanks, Iluvatar.
Yep.
No, why you guys put a big fucking cube in the middle of the city that just would explain this to them?
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying we should do Mecca. It's very cool.
We should do a Lore Boys Mecca in Lore, Ohio, honestly.
We should.
Oh, okay. First, kick out everybody who currently lives in Lore, Ohio, unless they convert. Then
all 360 of them or whatever.
Yeah, dude, they don't stand a fucking chance.
Nah,
then Mecca Cube. Tear down the city hall, Mecca Cube. Then we move it to somewhere else, and then I don't know, profit probably.
Something profit. Yeah. If only we could figure out a way to make religion profitable. We got to crack.
I understand not paying taxes.
I sent you guys a picture of Numenor, what it looks like. Numenor itself is shaped like a 5-pointed star. I'm not going to go into the different regions, but at its center is a great mountain called Meneltarma, or Pillar of Heaven, which is a mountain dedicated to Eru Iluvatar, of course. The capital is Armenelos, which contains Nimloth the Fair, which is the tree gifted to man by the elves after the War of Wrath. And it was said that the health of the tree would be tied to the royal line of Numenor. This tree actually has its own family tree. Fun fact about the fandom for Lord of the Rings. It has a lineage you can trace back to Telperion, one of the 2 trees destroyed by Morgoth and Ungoliant. So the Spider 9/11, one of its babies is this tree.
And one of them ends up in Gondor also, right?
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Okay. Of trees having a family tree, like on the tree there's just individual little trees, and
would trees not illustrated as like a person, and then our 5 fingers would be like their offspring?
I will say this family tree was a straight line down. It was just descended. Didn't branch once, so it's is that just a stick at that point? I don't know.
A family spear.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
that's nice. Trees stick. don't gotta fuck, huh? They could just drop their nut on the ground. You could have one tree parent.
I think a bee has to do something before the.
Aren't there like male and female plants?
There are, and I know there are from weed.
Penises. All I can say is plants got penises. Okay,
yeah,
that's the one thing I know for certain. Plant got dick.
If I bust in a girl, I'm germinating. Isn't that a gross word?
I get the bees and hummingbirds to do it for me, to pleasure my wife for me.
You're just like lying in bed. It's like soaking for Mormons. We're just like lying in bed, nude, covered in bees. You're just like, this is so romantic.
It's like the guys who wear like the swarm of bees on their face or whatever.
Oh, the bee beard.
That, and then I go down on my wife and I come up with no bees on my face.
I thought you were talking about bee just around your testes and stuff.
Bee pubes?
Oh my god. Pubes, I love those. Yeah. Wait, dude, how do trees have kids? What the hell?
Seeds and bees.
That's all I know. Seeds and bees, baby.
Well, I know you need to put a splinter of like a male or female tree into another tree if you want apples. Weed is the same thing. My dad makes a distinguish between like male and female plants.
Yeah, like females bud, but the males don't produce any bud or something like
exactly.
Yeah. So the male pollen fertilizes a female ovule, and then the seeds are created and drop and grow. Okay.
Oh, nice, bro. Fucking nice, dude. That's so sick.
Can we take a
Sometimes I hear
break?
about animals mating, like, oh yeah, the male just stabs the female to death with fertilization barbs, and then her body is food for the babies. Then he just drifts away and dies. I'm like, I'm so fucking happy I'm a man, like a human man, where I can just like not do that at all.
Yeah, he thought men were given the bad end of the stick by God by living short. At least whenever we fuck, we don't have to have our heads ripped off or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pigs have 30-minute orgasms though, right? So I don't think we're top of that food chain. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. We're not at the bottom. We do got to be thankful for that, right? And mashallah. But
imagine the sound of a pig. He'd probably squealing for 30 minutes straight. Holy.
Pretty good.
So I said I'm not going to get into the regions, but the island is built like a video game, right? 5 different arms, each being a fairly distinct region.
Ooh, fire, ice, jungle, cake, and then sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck yeah.
Canon. One of the regions is a wooded area dedicated to shipbuilding, and over time, the Numenorians would become known as some of the most skilled sailors and shipbuilders in the world, basically.
You know that Windows autocorrect can't fix how to spell cunnilingus? So, because I guess Bill Gates is a fucking loser.
Yeah, he doesn't eat pussy. He's
No way.
He's too much of a He's too much of a loser for that. Loser's the right word.
That makes sense. If you lived on an island, you'd be the best at the ships, like Britain, right? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By necessity.
Big allegories to Britain, right? I think with a lot of Tolkien's writing when he talks about.
I can't wait till Britain sinks.
True, yeah, true. This actually, this whole story came about. Spoilers for the end of this. Numenor will sink. But this came about as originally he was talking with C.S. Lewis, whom they famously had a friendship. And he wanted to write. He told C.S. Lewis that he wanted to write his own Atlantis myth. So this is based on Atlantis, actually.
Oh, good.
Numenor. Eventually, the Numenorians would make their way back to Middle-earth, these chiseled 7-foot-tall Adonises, heading back to their shitty little hometown to look at those who never got out after high school, basically. Around the year 600 of the Second Age, so 600 years after the founding of Numenor, with the second king, basically, after Elros. Tarminiatar was Elros's name that he took as a human. The Numenorians brought back the secrets of agricultural and some basic crafting recipes for the men back in Middle-earth, right?
Ooh, this is Fingerprints of the Gods, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, wait a second. I know we did an episode about this. I bring him up a lot because I do like his work. Graham Hancock didn't just somehow completely misunderstand everything he ever read about history. He just took Numenor and was like Egypt.
Yeah. He just took the myth of Atlantis and did it basically, right? Like,
yeah, but a big pillar of his thing was like them traveling around the world teaching agriculture. It's like a big thing of Fingerprints of the Gods, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's just Numenor. Tolkien did it first.
Yeah. This is like how Peter Thiel calls his disgusting and evil spyware shit Palantir. And it's just like, you're so up your own ass because you don't have eyebrows. It's easier. You just assume no one has
for sweat, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's so damp. But it's just like, you don't understand that one other person on Earth has seen the third Lord of the Rings film. The Palantirs are very clearly evil.
Well, I don't think he's trying to be good. Like, look at his actions. Like, I think he knows he's evil, and he's like, I can get away with this. This is what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
But,
I'm rich and in the United States. I can do anything I want.
Yeah. I'm first bidder on all U.S. defense contracts. Like, maybe I'm the good guy. I don't know. When asked point blank in an interview, do you think that humans should continue to exist? I stumble and stammer my way over a sentence for 15 seconds before saying, sure.
Yeah. Like he's only number one now because Elon scares the hose. Like that's it.
The Numenorians also made contact with Gil-galad, who was the High King of the Noldor, one of the Elven nations back on the mainland, specifically of Eriador, where like the Shire will eventually come to be and everything, basically right next to where the Beleriand was.
Yeah, in the Silmarils episode, we touched a lot in that area with the Sons of Feanor and their whole shtick up there. So if you want,
and Gil-galad's in the show, right? He is the King of the Elves in Rings of Power. Jibo, you've watched it.
I haven't watched it in the last.
I think he is in the show because I think I saw a picture of him from the show when I was doing the research. I guess worth mentioning, if you guys can think of anything from the show, please do call it out because I've never seen an episode. So I don't know.
He is in the show. He is the doughiest of the elven actors in that show, who are all strange looking.
There you go. Maybe worth mentioning. I did read one of the books of the Silmarillion for this episode, the Akalabeth, which is
okay.
It's the rise of. It's one of the shorter books. It's like 30 pages, I think. But it is the rise and fall of Numenor. So like that's like that book basically. So all the only source for this episode is pretty much that. There's like a couple of things that I looked up in some of the other books from the Silmarillion, but it's all from there. Yeah, so they meet Gil-galad, the High King of Noldor. 1,000 years after the Numenorians appeared on Middle Earth, someone else was making the rounds as well, right? After Morgoth fell in the War of Wrath, his forces were routed. Almost all of his servants were destroyed and scattered, with only a few Balrogs remaining and most orcs retreating to exile. One of Morgoth's generals survived, however. A little scamp known as Sauron, right?
Oh, yeah.
This guy, don't get me started. For people who don't know Lord of the Rings, for our wandering North Korean who's found the show.
Yeah, for Peter Thiel, Sauron's the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. In the book, or in the movies and the books, like he's the main antagonist of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Basically, he's the big bad guy at the end of it.
The movie opens up with his finger being cut off. Or wait, is it Sauron's finger being cut off?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah,
do you remember who? Because we're going to talk about him.
Oh, is it
Isildur casted into the fire? Isildur. Yeah. That's how the first movie opens. Is the war against Sauron.
The big tower with the big red eye shining. That's Sauron's eye looking around. Like
that's Sauron looking for.
You've absorbed this, even though if you haven't watched any of the movies, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's around. He did survive the War of Wrath, and he's been slowly regathering his strength. Right. In the year 1600 of the Second Age, Sauron deceived some elven smiths, one of whom was Celebrimbor, which Jamie mentioned, and created a master ring to dominate the lesser rings that he had the elves create. Right.
Yeah, the first 3 rings that were made for the elves were only Celebrimbor, and those are the ones that they're safe. Like they're good. They're made out of good stuff.
Yeah.
And that goes to Gandalf, Galadriel, and Elrond?
No, it's Galadriel's husband. So it's Galadriel's husband, and then Gandalf get them. And Galadriel's husband is some guy whose name I do not remember.
No, he's some elf.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, some elf.
Yeah, but then Sauron in the show, you can see all this too. He like steps in and like helps him make the other ones, the ones for. He's like, let's make some for the dwarves, and they're like, okay, yeah, let's make some for the dwarves, and then he's like, let's make some for men now. And then everyone's like, well, hold on. I don't know about men. I don't think men should be having these guys.
Yeah.
But then they do it anyways. And then eventually, Sauron makes the one and only. For
Galadriel's number one handsome hubby is Celeborn, whose name we forgot. I'm sorry.
There you go. So he makes the rings. Less than 100 years later, Sauron was at war with the elves. So within a century, he's like declared war on the elves. And in 6 short years after declaring war, it was in like 1693, I think, that he declares war. Sauron's forces had overrun the continent of Eriador. So he's in charge of the continent at this point. Numenor's king at the time, Tar-Minastir, took notice and sent a fleet of Numenorians to Eriador to help. So Gil-galad is the king at this point, and his forces are completely routed. Lindon, not London, Lindon, was completely overrun by Sauron, and he had basically fled his capital at this point when the Numenorians show up to help.
There's a big clock named Big Bun. There.
And I kind of don't want none unless you got Big Bun on.
Yeah. There was the first elf to swim across the English Channel.
Channel's a thing though, so channel, but with an A for the AL at the end.
Chanel.
Chanel.
Big Bon.
So
I mentioned Big Bon having like floppy hands, so you can't really tell time on it. It's like a cartoon.
Maybe it's this time. Maybe it's
like windy. Time. It's just like, am I early or late? This is ridiculous. Why did they do it like this?
just a clock with one of those like wacky inflatable arm guys that you see at used car dealerships at like 6 o'clock, and he's just like pointing to the time. So the Numenorians retake the elven capital of Lindon, and in 1701, so like 2 years after they show up, Eriador was free from Sauron's power. So the Numenorians very powerful, basically, right? Very very competent, and the Dark Lord was driven back to Mordor. So
this also happened very quickly because a century in the timescale of the lifespan of these people is basically just like Sauron shows up. He's like, "Sup, let's finish this ring project," and he's like, "Okay," and that's like Monday afternoon. Yeah, Thursday morning, you are at war and are losing. Is just like
okay. Thursday morning, you've conquered an entire continent, and then Thursday at 9:43, humans show up, kick your ass, and send you back to Mordor. Basically,
very very quick in the time the lifespan of these people. It's just like, oh, fuck, what a week.
Yeah, exactly. TGIF. Eventually, eventually, around 1800 of the Second Age, so about 100 years later, Numenorians began actually returning to the mainland, creating permanent settlements on the coast of Middle Earth. So they're expanding off of Numenor, and they're building towns and cities on the coast of Middle Earth.
Are any of these still around, or like ruins of them? Are they mentioned in like the more contemporary shit?
I couldn't tell you with any kind of certainty. I maybe some of the ruins, like we'll talk about the founding of Gondor by the end of the episode, right?
Yeah. Remember that giant gate on the river with the two statues with their hands out is like a relic from there? Because I know Aragorn is just like, I've always wanted to see this because it's like part of his lineage, right?
Lower Boys Canon. Yes, that was the Numenorians who did it.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'm not going to Google it. We've already established we made it up.
So the Numenorians' foothold on the mainland, of course, would be Sauron's foothold for them, right? The Numenorians had been festering with this whole mortality thing, right? That elves should live forever and that they should be forced to die is just not fair. They believe, or many of them, I should say, believe that they were owed immortality and that the Valar were hiding it from them, right?
That's how I feel when I go to the grocery store and I see lobsters in the tank. And they could just live forever unless someone killed them, you know? True. And I'm like, why do lobsters get all this power?
Live. Yeah, no, it's not fair. They should be killed.
That's why they are in the tanks there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Apparently they will die eventually because they grow so big that it takes a certain amount of energy to molt. Yeah. And they grow so big that the energy doesn't outweigh, and they just won't molt, and they'll just die inside. They grow too big in their shells.
Little known fact: you could actually live forever if you were willing to put elastic bands on your hands and live like that for the rest of your life, which is forever, as long as you don't take the elastic bands off. Is that the key? I'm saying not to pee, not to go number two. Not when you're showering, not when you're driving your car. You leave those elastic bands on, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, next time my girlfriend comes over, I'm just in a bathtub with elastic bands on my hands, flopping around in there.
I'm gonna bring Jamie to Bobby's birthday. I'm gonna bring Jamie to Bobby's birthday in just like a big styrofoam box full of cubed ice. It's just like just to keep them fresh.
I go to sleep
in a pot and boil them alive.
Yeah.
It's not him screaming. It's not him screaming. That's just the sound of air escaping him while he cooks. Okay,
exactly. It's just while the heat is making his organs expand and he's pushing air out of his body. I think you could probably drive with the elastic bands if you got your hands through the holes in the steering wheel. That's probably the least difficult thing to do. At the price of immortality, of course. Showering would be incredibly hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you could pinch. Stuff a little rag in the pinch, I guess.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you could do everything perfectly normal.
The only song you'd be able to play on piano is Chopsticks. You'd have to throw out the rest of the oeuvre. Only Chopsticks from here on out. So if you can't live forever, what do? You make sure your legacy lives forever, right?
Oh.
The Numenorians became tyrants, colonizing the men of Middle Earth and creating a great empire with no rival. Except for a few Numenorians called the Faithful, they declared they would no longer be allies of elves and Valar. They are men now, right? They're no longer beholden. Thanks for the island, but we're done repaying our debt. We're just men now, right?
Yeah, that's kind of, it's not fair, but I was going to say, it's like, honestly, they did help out with the war with Sauron, like, a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Having some beachfront property seems fine. Having some lobster, like setting up an industry to create their own immortality elastic bands is probably what they're looking for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't Sauron make elastic bands? It's just like it's got his like fingers all like cold and purple when it gets cut off because he just had a rubber band around it for an entire battle.
Xantham trees can't grow in Mordor.
Oh damn!
Can't get the latex.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that the ones with the shorter lifespan would forget the gifts of their ancestors too. It's like it's been generations at this point. How can you stay thankful across generations? Like most people can't stay thankful within their lifetime, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the empire, like this new empire, this maritime empire would last well over 1,000 years until Sauron would return and the downfall of Numenor would begin. But more on that after the break. On the Isle of Numenor, 1,000 years after Numenor had first beaten Sauron, there was a new king in town. Here's a quote for you guys from the Akalabeth. The mightiest and proudest was Ar-Pharazôn, the Golden, of all those that had wielded the scepter of the Sea King since the foundation of Numenor. And sitting upon his carven throne in the city of Armenelos, in the glory of his power, he brooded darkly, thinking of war. For he had learned in Middle-earth of the strength of the realm of Sauron, and of his hatred of the Westerness. So, we got a new king. This is like 1,000 years after they saved Gil-galad and the elves of Eriador from Sauron's invasion.
Yeah.
So around 3,000, we've got this new king, Ar-Pharazôn. It's the year 3255 of the Second Age. He's the 25th king of Numenor. He sails to Middle-earth with a fleet of soldiers because he has heard Sauron's building his armies. He's a jerk. We beat him once. Let's go back there, kick his ass again. Basically,
I thought he was going to beef with the elves. Honestly, I thought he was going to be just like, "Hey, man, we saved your pixie asses 1,000 years ago. All of you are still alive to remember this, and I'm 24 kings hence. Give me a drop of that immortality, just a taste, basically.
One little sip.
Rings of Power takes some real liberties because they have Sauron going to Numenor before creating the rings. And he like fishes Galadriel out of the water, but when she chooses not to go to heaven, she jumps out and stays in the world of man. And then he fishes her out of the water and pretends to be some other dude. And then it is later revealed he has been Sauron all along. And then he goes on to make the rings with Celebrimbor in the show. So
yeah,
he's
he also
like
chills with Isildur, who is a teenager at the time of the show, right? Like it's like 1,300 years of history condensed into like, I can't believe the War of Wrath took an afternoon sort of thing. Like,
I would think. I mean, I don't have a firm grasp on when exactly the rings were made in this context. From me reading the text, I thought that it was before he came to Numenor, and we will talk about when he goes to Numenor in a minute. But yeah, I wouldn't say like huge liberties. Like it's just when he created the rings versus and visited Numenor. Like I think it's all kosher if you ask me. But I wasn't sure. This was like when I was doing my research, Jamie, that I was like, oh fuck, is this just the Rings of Power? Again, never seen the show, never seen an episode. I don't know what it's about. Like I know it's about Lord of the Rings, I guess. And then I was reading it. I was like, oh, this might be some of that. I did read like Ar-Pharazôn in Shadow of War, the game. It's not Ar-Pharazôn, but they do show like a flashback of like Sauron tempting a king with a ring. Yeah. And it's thought that like that king doesn't exist in Tolkien's work. It's thought that that king is inspired by Ar-Pharazôn, basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Shadow of War being like an RPG in Tolkien's world. It's a JRRPG, I think, right?
Yeah. JRTRPG.
But also they take liberties because when we did an episode about the Rings of Power a couple years back, only one of the Nazgul has a name. And then, so the game itself does take some liberties with just being like, that guy turned into one of the one of the unnamed 9 kings of men who ended up becoming a Nazgul, which is kind of the lore for that one. We have an episode specifically about the shadow of games, the JRTTT RPGs. JRTTT Ting Ting Sahur. Those.
Ding 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 ding. The Crazy Frog canon.
Yeah, we see that Celebrimbor or Sauron in elven in crazy frog form, tempting a Numenorian king with a ring.
The Kenya, a crazy frog, is actually translated means love frog. Crazy means love in Kenya.
I didn't know that.
So, our Pharazôn sails to Middle Earth with a fleet of soldiers. He's here to kick Sauron's ass. Sauron had been rebuilding his armies, but the Numenorians arrived in such numbers that the Dark Lords surrendered on sight without a single battle fought. Just they show up in Mordor, and Sauron's like, "Oh no, fuck that! You got a lot of guys. I'm not doing that." This was, of course,
he likes to win through manipulation a lot more than blunt force. Like Morgoth would be more of like the attack thing straight on. Sauron's like, I'll back off and I'll negotiate this to be a better fight kind of thing.
Exactly. This was, of course, part of the plan, right?
Yeah.
Sauron's forces couldn't defeat the might of Numenor, but Sauron's treachery could surely break the mind of one high king, right?
Yep.
Ar-Pharazôn took Sauron prisoner, bringing him to Numenor, which happened to be right where Sauron wanted to be. Again, if he then goes on to make the ring or not, I don't know if Celebrimbor. The only thing that's throwing me off is like I don't know why Celebrimbor would be on Numenor because he was an elf. So I don't see why Sauron would go to Numenor to meet Celebrimbor, like the elven master smith. Like I don't know why he would be there, but very well. I would not surprise me in the least bit that Amazon took liberties and just changed it or whatever. But I'm not saying that I'm super confident in that fact one way or another.
I think Celebrimbor chilled in either Gondolin or Eregion, because Eregion's in the show, and Numenor is like a side plot, if I recall. I've only seen like 2 or 3 episodes, but
I think the only reason like he's really there is just to set up the fight between him and Galadriel, because like there is a moment later where him and Galadriel have a moment, and then one of them drops off a cliff, and then I can't quite remember, but there's like this really tense relationship between Galadriel and Sauron because he lied to her, right? And it all starts there where he's the one who saves her out of the ocean in the first place. Yeah, so it kind of sets that all up. I think that's why that's there, but I would really need to rewatch. I watched it like a year or 2 ago, so.
Cool. Ar-Pharazôn brings Sauron to Numenor. Sauron would whisper treason into the ear of Ar-Pharazôn and any men of Numenor who would listen, of course, right? He immediately starts sowing dissent here. So here's another quote from the Akelabeth. And still, if they should at last come to the end of all lands and seas, beyond all lay the ancient darkness. And out of it the world was made, for darkness alone is worshipful, and the Lord thereof may yet make other worlds to be fights for those that serve him, so that the increase of their power shall find no end. And Ar-Pharazôn said, Who is the Lord of darkness? Then, behind locked doors, Sauron spoke to the king, and he lied, saying, It is he whose name is not now spoken, for the Valar have deceived you concerning him, putting forward the name of Eru, a phantom devised in the folly of their hearts, seeking to enchain men in servitude to themselves. For they are the oracle of this Eru, which speaks only what they will. But he that is their master shall yet prevail, and he will deliver you from this phantom, and his name is Melkor, Lord of all, giver of freedom, and he shall make you stronger than they. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Sauron's the villain, right?
It's also funny how conspiracies have worked the same forever, because this is how people get drawn into believing idiotic things now. And this is being written into fantasy fucking 70 years ago, and it's just like, yeah, the tactics never change. Where it's just like you just have to convince some idiot that the person that talked to them before you was a liar, and that's
exactly. It is comparable, I think, to a lot of conspiracy theories where it's like God is like very real. Again, if you just sail west far enough, you find heaven and all the angels living in it. Like these are like provable facts. It's climate change. You know what I mean? It's just it's just there's evidence there. And then Ar-Pharazôn's just like, actually, yeah, I like what this guy's saying, so I'm going to believe him instead. Okay. I mean, Sauron, I recognize the fear of death that Numenorians felt. Exploited that to great effect, right? That's his whole shtick, basically. It's
and
like,
he can't fucking die. He's immortal completely. Yeah,
exactly. He's supping on the wine that the others are drinking, which probably makes him more believable, like a more credible expert, right? To say like, I'm immortal. I know the secrets to immortality, right? Of course I do. In the show, does he Is he Sauron? I guess on when he like
what?
does he disguise himself?
He
yes,
starts
but not
off
as an elf.
No, he starts off as like a blob, literally a blob of like black shit in underground, and then it eats a rat and it becomes a bigger blob. Then it eats another thing, and then eventually it eats a carriage that's passing by, and it eats a man out of there, and he becomes that man for a little bit, and then he disguises himself as like a different man, and then eventually disguises himself as an elf. He could take different forms, but he's never like the guy in big black armor walking around like we see him in.
But does he like when he's talking? Does he introduce himself as Sauron in the show?
No.
Like he's like, hey, I'm Sauron. How's it going?
No. He's pretending to be other people to manipulate. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like the human guy. When he fishes Galadriel out of the ocean, the human guy. I can't remember his name. It's like I think it starts with an H.
I forget.
Human.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. My name is Hugh Man. It's like I believe that.
Yeah. So on my read through of the Akalabeth, like he's just Sauron. He's like, yeah, I was a political prisoner. I'm here now, but I can probably like spin some wisdom for you guys if you want. You know what I mean?
The elves hate my free speech and hate your and love your mortality. You should listen to me now. Actually,
exactly. I mean, he eventually replaces a lot of the inner circle around Ar-Pharazôn. Like it gets rid of them. Says you don't need them. I'll be your advisor. He becomes like Ar-Pharazôn's most trusted advisor, just by honey in his ears, basically.
Oh.
Ar-Pharazôn, it will ultimately be remembered as the king who turned Numenor from worshipping Eru Ilúvatar to worshipping Morgoth, right? Like as a country, as a civilization, like Ar-Pharazôn at the helm, he's like, yep, we're Team Melkor now. Again, Melkor and Morgoth, they're interchangeable.
Yep.
Okay.
Ar-Pharazôn would build a temple to Morgoth at Sauron's behalf, a 500-foot tall structure with a basement full of torture chambers and prisons. It's mainly made of marble, gold, glass, and steel. It is capped by a mighty silver dome, which soon would turn black from the smoke of rituals taking place at the temple. This massive building on Numenor, on the island of Numenor.
You think if you were a regular guy and you saw the big shift into the the new temple that has been blackened by the smoke of ritual, like nobody is like feeling. I don't know if the change of direction of the island is. I'm not big on this one. Like this is kind of crazy.
It's the classic Mitchell and Webb bit, right? Like the skulls on their hats. They're like soldiers in the trenches. They got skulls on their hats, and it's "Are we the baddies?" Right?
Yes, yeah.
When you said torture chamber, I was just picturing like a really tall man who's like strapped down on his belly with his butt arched up in the air and a wheel of paddles just spanking him. I think that would be a fun torture thing.
Uh-huh. I'm picturing like the rack, but because Numenorians are so tall, they're just like they kind of like the cuffs are kind of loose on them. Like they get it to the max and they can't stretch them anymore.
He's got a wheel.
And how do you find this? Well, I mean, the bench is a little uncomfortable. Maybe
he's standing like 4 feet away from the rack itself because it's so loose. He's just like, keep going.
On his phone. No, please stop. In the innermost chamber of the temple, Ar-Pharazôn had a sacrificial altar built. It would not be long before sacrifices upon it would be normal, but choosing the first sacrifice is an important task, right? And one that Ar-Pharazôn would turn to his most trusted advisor for, right? You guys want to take a crack at what the first sacrifice on the altar to Morgoth will be? It's a long shot, but sorry?
Arendelle,
no. He's on the other side of heaven. It's gonna be hard to get to. But it's a good guess.
Is it gonna be the king's son?
No. Another good guess.
Heir? Yeah.
Another good guess.
I was thinking Bible thing. I was thinking Old Testament because it's Tolkien.
Yeah. Sauron would look to one of the last remaining symbols of the Eldar, the High Elves, and the light of Valinor on Numenor, the white tree Nimloth the Fair, right?
Oh.
They get the white tree, gift from the elves, one of the first 2 trees to ever be made, or the grandson of one of the first 2 trees to ever be made.
They chop off its head with Lady Guillotine and sap just comes pouring out.
It's just like a guillotine falling down on the wood, but obviously it doesn't chop it off, right? So it's just like
the leaves like shaking.
Lift it back up slowly, drop it again. Dunk.
The executioner is just like holding it out. It's just like a garbage bag full of leaves. He's like, no.
Or the executioner's like a lumberjack. He has the sack with the eyes, but it's plaid.
Plaid.
With suspenders over the eyes.
Okay, hang on a second.
Plaid potato sacks, man.
That was getting noted down right now.
So despite everything, despite how things have been going on Numenor up till now, our Pharazôn hesitated. Okay? It was his uncle and the 24th king of Numenor, so the king before him, Tar-Palantir, same word of Palantir fame, who had foreseen that the fate of the tree would be tied to the line of Elros. So like I said when I first mentioned the tree guy here, it was eventually prophesied that it would be tied to the line of Elros. It was literally his uncle who he replaced as king who prophesied that. Tar-Palantir was known by the elves as a true seer, so he was like a credible psychic. Like he was a credible medium in this sense, and was like, yeah, no, that tree's gonna be important, and it's gonna be tied to the line of succession of our kingdom.
Once again, classic conspiracy move from 70 years ago is he comes in and says, don't trust an expert. And like I saw that picture recently, I posted on our memes channel on Discord, link below, is the greatest psyop the internet ever did was convince idiots like us, you are smarter than someone with a PhD and years of experience because you did 3 hours of Googling. Like
exactly,
that's
3 hours of Facebooking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like he's like, there exists a list. There's a list out there. It's going to be important. Then his son comes around and goes, actually, he made up that list. And actually, the Black King, to the term before him, made up the list before he made up the list, actually. Okay,
right, yeah, of course.
Don't believe it. Read, folks.
Yeah, we still love on the island. It has nothing to do with that. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
The scary temple that's here, which is also...
Arianor sailing on his ship with the Silmaril on the front and it just says Lolita Express on the side.
Like in Elvish.
Kenya. What's Kenya for Lolita Express? Hey, ChatGPT. Here's one for you. Before Tar-Palantir, while no king would have dared to chop down Nimloth the White, many had ceased to tend to the tree as they were expected to. They'd kind of been like letting it grow fallow because they'd been like slowly over time resenting the elves, right? And like what the tree represented.
Right. Okay.
The Numenorians had for a long time resented the Valar, and so their gift in the capital went largely ignored. That should have said the Eldar, the elves. But Tar-Palantir, before our Pharazôn, did his best to repair the relationship with the elves and the Valar. Like just him being Tar, so like Tar is the Kenya for royal, like it's essentially like King Palantir or whatever, right?
Okay.
All the kings had been using that, and then eventually they changed to R, which is just like the Numenorian word for it. So they said like we're not going to use the Elven word for king anymore. We're going to use our own word. Tar-Palantir went back to the old way. He said like no, call me the Elven word. We should repair relationships with the elves. Like they're good people. They give us a tree.
I got fresh bees for the tree. It can get late again. I'm so sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. It's got a beard full of bees. My lord, where are you going? I've got a date with a tree. So he'd done his best. He tried to, he trimmed the tree's hedges before their date and all that. Romance seduced the tree as best he could. But his nephew, our Pharazôn, would spit in the face of any attempts to repair relations, right? Of course, not everyone saw eye to eye with our Pharazôn and his new Goth bestie. As I mentioned earlier, there was a holdout among the Numenorians who were known as the Faithful. The leader of the Faithful, Amandil, had been friends with our Pharazôn when they had been young. Amandil had served as advisor to our Pharazôn right up until Sauron arrived and eventually had him removed, basically, right? Okay. So the Faithful believe what Tar-Palantir believed, that like, hey, we should repair relationship with the elves. Like the gift of Numenor was a good gift given to us by the Valar, and the gift of man specifically, that like we should be allowed to just die good deaths and fade out without. One of the big things with like the gift of man is like dying without worry. So like not dying in battle, but just like dying peacefully in your sleep, because the only time that elves die, and like they often don't truly die, but if they were to die, it would be in battle, right? Like in chaos or carnage or something like that.
Which makes sense for Tolkien, because he had to go through both fucking world wars. I'm sure dying in his sleep is just like the greatest gift that anybody could have, right?
Or if the elves live long enough, they become so big that they can't molt, and they just
exactly.
they
just live in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
Elrond with elastic bands on his fingers, telling Arwen not to marry Aragorn because like pointing at her.
So yeah, the faithful believe that like, hey, that is right. Like, yes, we should just like die good deaths, and you know, be men. We shouldn't believe this Sauron guy and the shit that he's spitting.
Yeah.
The faithful were forced underground. There's like a mountain that I remember or something in the middle of Numenor, which I mentioned, the Pillar of Heaven, which is like a holy site for Eru Ilúvatar and like worshiping him. Ar-Pharazôn like banned anyone from going up there, basically, but would never like attend. Like Sauron himself says in the Akalabeth, like thinks about telling him to go like deface it. It was like, nah, I'm not fucking with Ilúvatar directly like that, you know.
Okay.
So he basically says like okay, well, like let's take the tree out then, right? The faithful were forced underground. Eventually, the rumor that the king was considering cutting down Nimloth reached Amandil. Amandil was distraught, and he spoke with his son Elendil about his plan. And his plan was to sail to heaven, and plead with the Valar for forgiveness on behalf of the Númenóreans in a bid to save Numenor. Basically, he's like the writing's on the wall, shit's going south. Fascism back home. I'm going to go ask God for help, please. Or I'm going to go ask angels to ask God for help on my behalf, because I'm not allowed up the mountain to pray anymore.
Right.
Elendil wasn't the only one who heard Amandil's pleas, however. His son, Isildur, had overheard his grandfather talking and decided to take action on his own.
Oh, wait a second. Isildur is the grandson of Elendil?
Amandil. He's the son of Elendil.
Excuse me. Okay, yeah.
He's the son of Elendil, who is in the first Lord of the Rings movie as like the forces of the King of Men, I think. He gets killed by
Sauron in the intro, and then his sword, like Narsil, is his sword, and then Isildur uses it to cut the ring off.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from the Akalabeth. Isildur said no word, but went out by night and did a deed for which he was afterwards renowned. For he passed alone in disguise to Armenelos and to the courts of the king, which were now forbidden to the faithful, and he came to the place of the tree, which was forbidden to all by the orders of Sauron, and the tree was watched day and night by guards in his service. At that time Nimloth was dark and bore no bloom, for it was late in the autumn, and its winter was nigh, and Isildur passed through the guards and took from the tree a fruit that hung upon it, and turned to go. So he goes to the tree in the dead of night, which is off limits at this point, like a Hitman game, dresses up like a clown, I guess. And
I remember this mission. Yeah.
Manages to take a fruit from the tree, a single fruit from Nimloth.
Is it specified? Is it apple? Is it like that much of an analog, or
that's not an analog? It's never an apple in the Bible. It's just called a fruit.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't know what kind of fruit it is. I think most biblical scholars think it's probably a pomegranate, given where it was in the world.
Where it is, yeah, of course.
But it's only ever called the fruit.
It's a lot of work for a pomegranate. I love apples. Don't get me wrong. Big Macintosh guy.
I bet you apples I bet you apples 2,000 years ago sucked fucking ass. You know what I mean? Like GMOs kind of rule when it comes to
the size of a marble and so sour it would just evaporate your taste buds. Right?
Exactly.
Pomegranate's a lot of work, but they are delish. I'm not gonna lie.
Too much work. I ain't fucking with that shit. So Isildur takes the fruit. He goes to escape, but his cover is blown. He has to fight his way out. I shouldn't say his cover is blown. He is like, they see a man with a fruit in an area that he's not supposed to be. He has to fight his way out.
And while he's fighting his way out, he just cuts everyone's one finger off as he's fighting his way out. Just 1,000 guards with one finger missing.
to your point, Pete, too, I'm like, what kind of fruit was it? I'm picturing with like an award-winning, like a blue ribbon watermelon or something, you know, like trying to carry this big
ass 400 pounds.
It's like trying to carry it out, cutting everyone's finger off while he's going.
Yeah. It's like Sauron convinced the king that no one is allowed at the county fair at the top of the mountain to get the prize-winning pumpkin. No, I guess it's just because I've played more Assassin's Creed than I've read of Bible. So they call them the apples of Eden, like the orbs, right? So that's why I'm just like, yep.
No, it's just different. I mean, I might be wrong about that. What the fuck do I know? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure.
You played less Assassin's Creed than me, but it probably read equally as Little Bible.
True, probably less. You wear a crucifix. I don't know, man.
I was baptized. I wasn't literate at the time.
You have to read the Bible to be baptized. You read it as a baby. You just don't remember it.
Maybe.
Yeah, the priest won't do it otherwise. They're pretty picky about who they let in. So he gets a fruit.
I'm going to do like a spelling test when I'm 18 months old. Like an Orthodox priest who I cannot communicate with, obviously. just like babbling Greek at me.
Isildur gets a fruit. He brings it home to his city of Romena, where he gives it to his grandfather Mandil before he falls to his wounds. Isildur does not die. Fans of the movies will know. Obviously, he's going to come back. But was bedridden all winter until in the spring, the first shoot of the tree poked out of the ground, and Isildur's wounds were instantly healed.
Ooh, cool.
So they plant the fruit. They manage to grow a tree, and as soon as the tree begins to grow, it does heal his wounds.
I wonder if I can put that in the show, in Rings of Power, because I know again, I haven't watched all of it, whatever. They do have like a very silly fake out death for Isildur in the show, as if, again, calling your disgusting spyware Palantir, as if no one has seen the most famous movies on Earth, other than Titanic. It's just like, oh, Isildur is dead, actually, halfway through season 2 of this show. It's like, what were you thinking? Like, did you think people would take that seriously?
Yeah, I mean, like a little silly. A little silly to do a dramatic death. I haven't seen the show. I would think it's really silly. I do got to call it though, Pete. You said a few times now that this is like, you are acting like everyone on Earth has seen. I think we're old, Peter. I think like Endgame and like the Marvel shit is going to be way more popular than Lord of the Rings these days. A lot more people, especially our audience who trends younger, I bet a lot of them haven't seen Lord of the Rings, you know?
Yeah, well, again, my crotchety old millennial ass, it's just being obviously it's just like, yes, these are some of the most famous movies ever made, and also the books have existed for like almost a century. Yeah. But I do understand now that like some people our age have children who are old enough to read, and they're not going to be doing it. They're not going to be starting with Fellowship. So
I'd go even farther that like a lot of people our age who watch those movies don't know that's Isildur cut off the finger. Like I can talk to my girlfriend right now and she knows that exact moment. I don't think she could name that guy because he's not really named unless you talk about the lore like more in depth, right? But yeah.
That's true. He's like named in the intro, and that's about it.
For me, the line "casted into the fire, Isildur" is the most recognizable line. Like that line more than any other line stuck in my head for whatever reason. I think more than anything else in the trilogy. That is like when I think of the trilogy, that's the first line I think of is "cast into the fire, Isildur."
That's fair, but it's the first 10 minutes, and then you'll go on to 9 hours of Frodo and Sam.
Absolutely.
You know what I
And
mean?
that's not the extended. That's not the extended cut, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll say if you don't know what this is, I guess don't worry about it. Pete is the old man yelling at Cloud with the podcast. So
hey, it happens to the best of us, and I'm happy that if the Cloud that I got to scream at is like the Lord of the Rings, fine, right?
Sure.
There's way shittier clouds to yell at.
So Isildur's back. He's healed, but it over the winter. It was the burglary itself. So Isildur was never revealed. They never found out it was Isildur, but they do know that somebody stole an apple from the tree, or at least was in the grounds.
Right. Okay.
And it was that act. It was like the burglary itself, or the breaking and entering itself, which convinced our Pharazôn that the tree needed to be burned. So that is what ultimately says, like, you're right, Sauron. The tree is a poison. It's turning our people against us. They're not obeying the rule of law. So we got to burn the tree now, right?
Right. It was illegal to look at it. Somebody looked at it. We need to destroy the tree.
Yeah, exactly. People can't be trusted with it.
They're going to be eating fruit and shit off of it and healing themselves instantly. We can't have that.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I gotta send in a picture of my driver's license just to go on the internet and look at pictures of trees. This is crazy, man. Like, what kind of fashion bullshit is this? Huh? Look at trees about the privacy of my own home. Mature trees, okay? Jesus.
Yeah, I mean the video title says it's the first time there was ever bees on it, but they're all actors. That's all. It's a fake tree. It's a fake tree. It's a professional.
Gross. So the smoke from Nimloth clouded the sky for 7 days until it slowly blew west. The Akalabeth mentions it doesn't mention this, but I do think that it was interesting that like west is towards Aman, right? So like the smoke from this tree is blowing towards heaven, kind of as a signal, like, hey, these people are not your people anymore, right?
It's not the tree going home, maybe.
Oh, maybe also that. I'll give you that. Sure,
that's what popped in my head. Yeah,
either works. Yeah. After Nimloth came the human sacrifices, and they did not stop. Mainly, it was the faithful who were killed here at the Temple of Morgoth, as those who now worship Morgoth believe that sacrifices would bring them eternal life. That was the thought. Like, if I sacrifice enough faithful, Morgoth will give me eternal life, right?
Cool. Hindsight being 2020. Hindsight being 2012. Human sacrifices don't bring your crops back. Don't make you immortal. Sorry, dude. Sorry, Mayans.
Yeah, it turns out wearing a mask is much more effective. Of course, this didn't work, right? Death didn't start ignoring men. Instead, it came sooner. It used to be that when the men of Numenor died, they simply got old and sleepy, like I said before. Now madness and sickness would afflict them, and people were quicker to anger, quicker to take up a knife and plunge it into their neighbor's chest, right? So they're getting a lot more violent deaths now. People are going insane and then dying of like dementia and things like that, which never happened before.
Right.
Well, the happiness of a good death might now elude them. The rich in Numenor did grow richer. Industry was booming. They were building engines and shit. Capitalism was taking off. And their armies grew more powerful than ever. They built engines, like I said, and great ships and brought their armories to Middle-earth. They no longer came only as conquerors, but as slavers. They dragged the men of Middle-earth to altars where they too might be sacrificed to Morgoth, right? So the Numenorians, full evil now, right? Ar-Pharazôn became the greatest tyrant in the land since Morgoth himself ruled over the Beleriand.
That's crazy. That's a high bar to clear.
I mean, they're a powerful empire, right? Like, this is Sauron as his right-hand man and advisor, so like he kind of has the power of Morgoth on his side. And like these are the guys who like showed up to save the elves from Sauron and showed up at Sauron's doorstep, and Sauron instantly was like, "No, your army's too big. I'm not going to fight you."
Right. Yeah.
So like they are extreme. Like men are very powerful, I guess. Death, however, does come for Ar-Pharazôn too, despite how great he is, right? As he grew older, he grew more fearful and angrier. He grew more angry, right? And so Sauron exploited that one more time for old time's sake, huh? He told Ar-Pharazôn of Aman, the land where there is no death, and the one being kept hidden from them by the Valar, right?
West.
Like, yeah, he's like, hey, if we just go west, man, there's a place where no one dies. You don't gotta die as long as you get there, dude, and storm the gates, basically, right? So
and there's grapes, and there'll be enough to eat for everyone, and we just gotta get there.
Milk and honey, baby.
Yeah. Milk and honey, yeah.
So Ar-Pharazôn and bees for all your wife's needs. What do you think makes the honey, huh?
Do you think milk and honey's good now that I have homemade honey from Bobby and Whitney?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to mix them?
Oh wait, are they two separate dishes? Not served. It's not like a ranch and barbecue thing.
I thought it. I mean, I'm no biblical scholar here. We've established this, right? I thought it was just like in my mind, it was like you go to a place that has a lot of cows and beehives, right?
Yeah.
That's the promised land. Is like you just get all the food. You got to work for it still, probably. You still gotta squeeze them cow tits, but
yeah. Most of a cow is
like
automated.
All the cow tits you could ever want.
Yeah, and bee tits.
And bee tits, yeah.
That's in the front though. They spit it out.
Yeah, you gotta purple nurple them so hard they throw up.
Oh, is that a thing?
Oh no, not the nips! Oh,
fuck! I hate this.
I've been hitting the nuts hard enough that I've wanted to puke, but I've never been nurpled hard enough that I wanted to puke. That's crazy.
I don't know, Bethany. I don't think you should have got those nipple piercings. So Ar-Pharazôn assembled the greatest army ever seen and sailed west to declare war on the gates of heaven. In the year 3319, 64 years into his rule, Ar-Pharazôn arrived on the eastern shores of Aman. The forces of Numenor marched upon the city of Tirion, and Manwë, foremost of the Valar, biggest angel, daddy angel, called upon God to save them. Like they're like, hey, this is a big ass army. We need God's help.
No, I knew about like some crazy ass shit in the Lord of the Rings, like in the Silmarillion and like in the ancient history of like the War of Wrath and obviously in Salagon, like crashing into a continent and sinking chunk of it into the ocean. I didn't know there was an attempted invasion of heaven. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And one threatening enough that like the angels there, like the Valar, had to be like, we can't win this. We need Eru Ilúvatar's help, right? Like we need to bring God into the mix here.
In the show, the way that they handle heaven. So I'm interested because you mentioned like maybe Rings of Power is going to go that direction where this is like the final fight, right? Where we have they storm heaven. I know for Galadriel, they like decide it's like they show these big clouds that light up in part and let you in, but they also can just not open. Like you have to be accepted into heaven to go into heaven. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that, if you can storm and just split the clouds yourselves or what. But yeah,
it's not mentioned in Akalabeth that they needed some like special power to do this. I think like in my reading of it, like it's pretty clear that like you just sail there and you get there, and it's just more land. It is at the edge of existence. So I said it before, like the Door of Night is there. Like Aman is like the edge of Arda that borders the void, right? So it's like right on the edge of the world essentially, and the world is flat. That is canon, I guess, in Lord of the Rings, right? So, he shows up with his army on the shores of Aman. Eru Ilúvatar answered, and in doing so, he changed the world itself. Ar-Pharazôn and his host are buried alive, where they're said to lie in the caves of the Forgotten until the last battle, or Dagor Dagorath, which is how in some letters Tolkien wrote, he says like the end of the world is one great battle, which will kind of like shape the final setting for the world, basically.
Yeah, I mean, this is his like adaptation of like Ragnarok via Beowulf, right? Because he's very much inspired by fiction he's read, and then like tried to set it up there. And then I did post for the patrons at home, and you guys, Tolkien scholar Belinda Carlisle's song,
Heaven is a place.
Heaven is a place on earth. Just so we know the geography of this place.
True. She was saying about Middle Earth. The producers are the ones who told her to drop the middle. You gotta hit, sister.
It's pretty catchy.
Yeah, it'd be big on radio.
So they bury Ar-Pharazôn and the armies of Numenor alive. They get put in the dirt, basically, to a caves of the Forgotten, which is kind of said to be like outside of, like also in the void. So they're basically put in like a timeless place where it's like you just wait until the last battle happens and you guys will pop out at that point.
Okay, it's like a purgatory-ish section.
Yeah, exactly. Aman, so heaven, was removed from the world entirely, so that only the elves could reach it. Not anyone with a boat full of soldiers bent on angel side could get there anymore, right? So like kind of to your, like the way the show depicts it is how it is in the trilogy, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like you do need to be accepted into it. It's invitation only at a certain point, but it hadn't been at this point in history.
Okay.
To do so, to separate it from the rest of the world, Eru Ilúvatar changed the shape of the world, where up until now it had been flat. He made it round, and Aman a separate sphere. So it's essentially like a moon, basically, right? But this is where the world goes from 2D to 3D. In canon, is at the end of the Second Age, when man invades heaven. Numenor itself, the island, was devastated by a great wave, which dragged it beneath the sea, the Atlantis myth, right? We knew where it was going, killing all who remained upon it, including Sauron. Like I said before, it's kind of tricky when like these elves and immortal beings die. They often don't fully die. Sauron, like Morgoth, doesn't really stay dead. But this death would rob him of his ability to be a sexy elf. So he after this, canonically, he can't take like fair and charming forms anymore. So that's why we only see him and like the big black scary armor in the trilogy. Because when he dies here, he like loses that ability. Because I guess he was like in it at the time. They're like, you got your one shot. That form died. You only have your big scary form now.
Okay, yeah. What do I have left in the chamber now? I have scary armor and babbling subway hobo. Nobody's gonna listen to that guy. I'm gonna take the armored monster.
When the big bads die in this too, they describe it as like dust to the wind, where they're kind of dispersed, but they're not gone. And then over time, they can like slowly rebuild their strength. I don't know how Morgoth would ever do that if his head's in the night door or whatever, but Sauron for sure can. I think
that's specifically why he has to specify that. Like he can't reform because his head is separated, and that like collar, which had contained the Silmarils at some point, is specifically like binding his neck, and then he's also outside of time itself. So who knows?
Yeah,
right, yeah.
They show the crown in They show
In Rings
Morgoth's
of
crown
Power.
in Rings of Power,
Yeah,
and it's like an
yeah.
artifact that they find, and Sauron even gets a hold of it at one point. So I guess in Rings of Power they didn't leave it in the Night Door, but
Yeah, I'll say it's open to some interpretation in like the book itself, but I'm gonna say Lord Canon for sure. It's out there with him. I think that's cooler. The only surviving Numenorians were the faithful. Amandil, who I didn't mention it before, Amandil had literally changed his name. So again, this is one of the faithful who wanted to rekindle like relationship with the elves and the Valar. Amandil is literally like I love heaven. That's his name. Is
Cool.
heaven lover, basically, is what he changed his name to when he became a faithful, which I think is cool. He had sailed west, if you guys will remember, to plead for his people. He had sailed to Aman to plead for his people. And Elendil and his sons, including Isildur, were warned of the disaster and sailed east on 9 ships before Numenor sunk, basically.
Okay.
I like the symbolism of 9 because there's the 9 rings that were given to man in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Santa Maria, the
Pinta, the Santa
I don't-
Maria,
I don't practice Santa Maria.
7 other ones.
I ain't got no crystal ball.
the Punta Cana,
Yeah.
the Heaven
Puerto
Lover.
Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Channel Ocho.
We still are missing one big one. That was actually
Oh, it's the Nina is one of the real ones.
Nina. Yeah, like the years that get the big storms are hot or something.
Yeah, well, it's like one of the. Well, that's El
What are we
Nino and El
talking about?
Nina weather.
The 3 ships that came to North America.
Like Christopher Columbus's
The
ship.
Mayflower wasn't the Mayflower the first ship that got here? I
No,
don't
Christopher
know.
Columbus had like Latin named ships.
The Mayflower was the first settlers for America, I think. It was the first British
Pilgrims,
settlers.
Yes. Yeah.
The real ones are Santa Maria, Nina, and
Pinta.
Yeah,
Ford Pinta, El Nina, and then Sangria are the 3, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. If you like
Some of the
pina
dog-
coladas.
Someone at the dog park had a Pinot Grigio wine the other day, and they're like, "Does anyone want some Pinot Gringo?" They meant it.
That's gonna be me nude walking around in Mexico. It's just like, oh damn, it's Pinot Gringo.
So the 9 ships would land in Middle Earth and would found the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor. They would come to be known as the realms in exile, Arnor and Gondor, because they were exiled from Numenor, right? The fruit of Nimloth, which Isildur saved, would be replanted and would become the White Tree of Gondor.
Hell yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Pete. It is a direct descendant of that first tree. One of those first 2 trees.
I'm making some like Dory at the end of Finding Nemo links right now. It's gonna be my Wallaby Way moment. Gandalf, when he's facing down the Balrog, claims he is wielding the flame of Arnor and he has a wooden staff. Is it made from that tree? Or is it the gem in the staff he's talking about, or what? Because I know he has a magic sword.
I don't know, because it would be the realm in exile. So like the only piece of the tree that I'm aware of from my reading is like the fruit. That's like the only piece of the tree that got out. Is the will of the flame is nowhere else referred to in the trilogy. All right, meaning's unclear. He just says it. It was just a gift that he probably got from the kingdom at some point. So like again, they formed these 2 kingdoms called the realms in exile, which is Arnor, which is in Eriador, so where like the Shire is and everything. I think it's fallen by the time of the books, but I don't actually know that for super certain. And then there's Gondor, which is kind of in decline at the time of the books, right?
Because I'm on the one wiki to rule them all, which is I think the best name for a fandom wiki out there.
For sure.
And it does say it may refer to the light of the sun, and he does have Narya, the ring of fire, so he might be talking about that.
I don't know why you would call it the flame of Arnor specifically, but
so I just was making links there. Sorry.
It's not the flame of Arnor, it's the flame of Anor, Peter.
Well,
neither of us can read.
What do you think? I'm watching shit with subtitles? I did see Anor on the wiki there, the one wiki to rule them all. I was like, that might be different. Fuck.
It is possible that at some point in the future, Numenor will be lifted from the waves, as it was prophesied by Galadriel in a conversation with Treebeard that Balerion would be. She basically says to Treebeard, like, the next time I see you is when Balerion will be lifted from the waves. So maybe Numenor will also get lifted up when that happens.
That's also two people who've been alive for 30,000 years talking about a thing that might happen, right?
Exactly, right. Well, that's presumably after Dagor Daggorath. So the last battle, it said the world would be remade. Maybe that's when Numenor gets its second chance and when Earth finally goes 4D, right? But all that will have to be an episode for another time. Thanks so much for listening. I've been your host, Ethan Palmer. If you like this show, consider leaving us a rating or review on your podcast app of choice. Peter, what's going on with Instagram these days?
Lowers Podcast on Instagram. Come say hello. I missed last week, and I'm sorry. My comic book, The Black Frontier, is available paperback and digitally on Amazon.com. Linked below, or via our Patreon, $15 and up, patreon.com/theloreboys. Thank you to everybody who's bought it already. I did finally check my stats. Obviously better than I could have ever imagined. So very cool. Thank you very much. And keep those 5-star reviews coming. I think that probably helps because it was number 2 in erotica for a while. Don't know how that happened, and I don't care.
That's amazing.
A weird fucking thing that happened. I was like, better be number 3 is what I keep telling people.
The algorithm's like, it's drawn and he's got an octopus character. Yeah, this is hentai. Throw it in with the other hentai, would you? Cool. Jamie, you got anything to plug? Your Twitch streams?
Yeah, Lore Boy James on Twitch, normally Tuesday, Thursdays, but the best way to know is join discord.gg/loreboys. And I have a channel in there where I let you know. For example, like this week, I had to switch it up a bit because of a birthday dinner, but Tuesday, Thursdays, you can pretty much count on it.
Boo your girlfriend's brother. Boo him.
Yeah. Boo him. Yeah. I hope he's listening to this and knows we said boo your birthday, bro. Okay?
That's it though. If just get into the discord.gg, there's like a bunch of other stuff in there too, and you can get extra stuff on Patreon, which I think Ethan might talk about.
Yeah, if you like the show and want to support us financially, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys, where you can check it out. You can get access to some bonus content. We talked for like 40 minutes this week about how to start a podcast. So we talked for 40 minutes. We talked for 20 minutes or 15 minutes about how to start a podcast if you want. And it's our dumbass dog water take on the subject from 3 bozos who barely know how to do it. But if you want to support us finding our way, then check out the Patreon. If you don't trust the Patreon, we do, of course, have a service which we've always offered, Lore Boys Prime. We are looking this week for the your best submissions for executioner outfits. So we've got the lumberjack executioner outfit. I've come up with a design for a ballerina executioner outfit. So it's an kind of a lace executioner outfit, bright pink with like a tutu frill at the bottom where the mouse would go. So that when he talks, you see like the tutu vibrate a little bit. But we are looking for submissions to get the most styling executioners that we possibly can. For inevitably when we overthrow Lore, Ohio, it is going to be, I mean, it's always tragic, right? But we're going to have to do something about the current government in Lore, Ohio, right? It's going to be a let them eat bread situation, I think. So
we should probably execute everyone.
It's necessary. And just replace them with people from the Discord, honestly. Like, do we want dissent? I'm saying no. If Lore City, Ohio sinks into presumably close by body of water, maybe one of the Great Lakes. Can't really say I know where Ohio is or if it has a coastline.
It's south of Lake Michigan, I think.
Yeah, we could build a 500-foot church and then just torture them until they want to leave.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
True. Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm getting my mecha cube. I don't know where to put it. I mean, I'm sure there's like a Chick-fil-A to tear down and replace with a mecha cube. That would be great.
We could get ahead of
people to Morgoth. We all get our own mecha cube, my guy.
Hell yeah, dude.
We could get ahead of Tolkien and have a mecha tesseract and just go 4D.
Exactly.
4D Muslims? Let's go.
And I think that would constitute a Lore Boys.
Lore Boys.
Out.